welcome to another episode of Teacher's Corner. I'm Teacher Kirby, and for this episode, we're going to be talking about the Gamma Task Force reputation. Alright, so let's dive right in. So, Gamma Task Force, as you can see, has 6 tiers like all the other reputations, and it has on every tier some uh, some reputation abilities or traits that we're going to talk about. So, Tier 1 has ground traits, and they are Strength of Mind, which gives you plus 50 willpower. Willpower is not something that's really recommended or looked into much. So, there we go. And then we have Strength of Body, which gives, when activating a captain ability, gives plus 15 kit performance. Maybe something worth looking into. K-Perf is actually pretty good, but it only gives it for 15 seconds. So there's your downside. Alright. And Tier 2, you have space abilities. And here we have hardened sensors, which give plus 30 control and drain resistance rating, as well as 15% control and drain ability effectiveness for 15 seconds with enhanced sensors. Hardened sensors give us the resistance rating. So there you go, there you go, there you go. Moving right along, right along, right along. Tier 3 gives us on the ground again magnified armaments. So this will give a 5% bonus all damage to your ground abilities. Remember, the word bonus means that this lands in category 2, which is a pretty good damage bonus. So something to consider. And then we have Strengthened Personal Shielding, which gives plus 10% shield resistance. Again, these are ground abilities. Tier 4 will have us back in space. We have Magnified Firepower, which gives plus 5% bonus weapon damage. That is important to note. If you are a science captain that is doing most of their damage with science abilities, then this will not help you, because science abilities are not weapon damage. We're talking about cannons, beams, mines, and torpedoes here. Alright, and then we have Strengthened Shielding. That's 10% shield resistance. Again, these two at Tier 4 are in space. And then we have Tier 5, our active ability, One Little Ship, a helpful Danube runabout. So activating this trait will summon a miniaturized Danube runabout to fly around and shoot phaser beams and photon torpedoes at your foes for a short duration. This targets anything alive, and when it warps in and flies around for 30 seconds, it is armed with phaser beams and photon torpedoes, as stated in the earlier description. Alright, so that is our Tier 5 trait. Tier 6, of course, gets us rank 2 of all of these abilities, which increases their performance by 25%. So, for example, Magnified Armaments gives a 6.3% bonus to all damage instead of 5%. Same thing with Magnified Firepower. And again, because this is category 2, this is a pretty good bonus. But remember, if you are a science captain using gravity wells, subspace vortex, etc. to do most of your damage, Magnified Firepower is not going to help you. That will only magnify the firepower from your beams, your torpedoes, your cannons, or your mines. Alright, And there we go, moving right along, right along. We have our projects here. Of course, when we reach tier 6, we can claim a fleet ship module, retrain token, vanity shield, and of course do our hourly project if we so choose. Now let's get into our ground gear. So we have our polyweave armor, or polyalloy weave armor, sorry. These are actually usually pretty strong. They give a good amount of damage resistances, as you can see. We have a small amount of all damage resistance rating, a pretty large amount of both physical and kinetic damage resistance rating, a moderate amount of energy damage resistance rating. In addition to that, we have a specific phaser damage resistance rating that we get from the armor. And when we enter combat, we do get a plus 20% bonus all damage. There's that bonus word, category 2. That means it's a good one, but only for 10 seconds, and this can only happen once every 45 seconds. So there you go. And this also gives us plus 37 health regeneration, or 37%. So fairly good bonuses, not a bad set of armor. Polyalloy weave is one of my favorites. And then we have our Unified Enhanced Resilient Personal Shield. And this gives us a good amount of shield capacity. It is a resilient shield, so it has 5% absorption, 5% bleed through. This is my favorite. It means less gets through to you. It has the standard rapid regeneration after not taking damage for 3.5 seconds. And it has its unique abilities, reduces all energy damage to shields by 5% and reduces phaser damage to shields by 10%. Also unique ability, when shields drop below 10%, it cloaks you for 7 seconds. But this can happen only once per every 90 seconds. It also reduces phaser damage by 20% and regenerates shield capacity every 2 seconds. So it does have an extra bit of regeneration as well. Alright. And then we have, moving right along, we have our weapons here. Hello. Alright, so we have our weapons, and we have our phaser weapons, as well as our Polaron weapons, which are the added secondary weapon type. Alright, and then we have, the phaser is the added secondary weapon type. The Polaron is the primary. So then we have, what do we got here? We have, of course, because we're tier 6, it gets 2% bonus all damage, decent buff. Because it is bonus, so it is category 2. We are using Pulse Wave, so it has a cone type AoE attack along with a knockback. And we also get 20% run speed as an extra unique bonus. I apologize. Your enemies get negative 20% run speed, and you get 20% crit severity because of the crit D mod on here. Okay, and that is our phaser. Polaron is the same thing, except it has a 5% chance to root foes within 5 meters of the target for 4 seconds. That is the Polaron unique ability. Alright, moving right along. Let's take a look at our today at our set bonuses. So for the Gamma Concerted Armaments set, which is our ground set. First of all, it's important to note you do get a cosmetic armor set that is unlocked when you get all the pieces of the set. So 3 pieces of the set. It does not matter which energy type you get, but 3 pieces of the set will unlock the Gamma Armor cosmetic armor. Alright, for our set powers, 2-piece set bonus gives you concerted reinforcements. Now it's important to note this affects the team and yourself. When something says ally or team, for example, you are an ally and you are a team member. Now it is also important to note that concerted reinforcements stacks with teammates. So if all 5 of you come in, for example, then you will get this applied 5 times. Alright, the single bonus is plus 10% all weapon damage. Now it's important to note this does not say bonus, so it is a category 1 buff, which is not as good. It's the same as your tactical consoles for your ship, for example. So it's that kind of bonus. And then you also get a plus 10 kinetic and physical damage resistance rating. So this is, and again, these will stack. So if all 5 team members come in wearing 2 pieces of this set, you will get a total plus 50 all damage, all weapon damage, and plus 50 kinetic and physical resistance rating. So just to put that out there. So that is something that possibly you may want to coordinate for specific maps, specific ground maps. Alright, the 3-piece set bonus, Concerted Resilience, again to team and self, and it stacks with your teammates. Single buff is plus 10 energy damage resistance rating, plus 5% maximum hit points, plus 5% maximum shield capacity. So you could conceivably get up to plus 50 energy damage resistance rating and plus 25% to both maximum hit points and maximum shield capacity on a 5-man team, of course, and that is assuming that everybody has the 3-piece set for the Gamma. Alright, moving right along. Now we have our kit modules. This is of course a science tune, as it usually is when I show these things. So let's go over the science kit module first. And this is a modified Ketracel hypospray. So this removes debuffs and buffs resistances. So if you have a debuff applied, then it will remove that. It also, for 20 seconds, will give you, or whoever you target it to, plus 60 physical and kinetic damage resistance rating, plus 60 willpower, and that's resistance to ground control effects. It also removes all debuffs, and when the target, that means you or the person you apply it to, defeats a foe, and that means you have to get credit for the kill. That's something that's kind of hard to do, but the duration of the buffs increase for 5 seconds with a total duration of 45 seconds. So there you go, and that is our science kit module. Let's take a look at the engineering kit module. This actually can be, the engineering module can be quite useful. It is Cloaked Mine Barrier. So the Cloaked Mine Barrier creates 5 cloaked mines for 60 seconds. Mines take 4 seconds to arm. This is standard. If you look at the Chronoton Mine Barrier, same thing. and armed mines detonate on enemies within 1.5 meters. Again, same thing with the chronotine mine barrier. The only difference is these mines are cloaked. In other words, they cannot be seen. They do have 50% shield penetration, again, normal. But here's the unique thing. In addition to not being seen, the initial mine detonation spawns another cloaked mine nearby. So that is definitely something to consider if you wish to make your mines a little less visible to your enemies. Alright, moving right along, our tactical kit modules. Kit module is called Coordinated Synergies. And what this does, it gives a team damage, run, and resistance boost. It lasts for 15 seconds. It applies to the team and yourself, as we discussed before. It gives a 12.5% bonus all damage. Again, there's that word bonus. That means it's a category 2 damage buff. So definitely a good one to consider. It also gives 12.5% run speed and 12.5% or plus 12.5 physical, kinetic, and environmental damage resistance rating. Again, when you defeat a foe, duration of buffs increased by 3 seconds with a max duration of 30 seconds. And again, when you defeat a foe means you have to get that credit for the kill, or what we call the kill line. So definitely something that's a little harder to do when you're in a team of 5 people. Alright, moving right along. And here we go. Now we move on to, close that up, to our space things. Alright, so our space set, we're going to start off with our deflector array. We have our synergistic graviton deflector array. And this gives a small amount of exotic particle generator, or EPG, a decent amount of control expertise, and a moderate amount of drain expertise. It also gives a kinetic damage resistance rating for 10 seconds to targets hit by your projectile weapons. That is a unique ability that you don't see on other deflector arrays, so that is kind of interesting. But yeah, okay, so moving right along, we have our synergistic combat impulse engines. Now this has some warp core efficiency, some warp core potential, and some starship control expertise. That is a different thing. You don't usually see control expertise on impulse engines. Okay, and then we have, neither do you usually see warp core efficiency or potential on impulse engines. So if you need some extra stats, this might be an engine to consider. Let's see. Our flight speed, we have a bonus to that, as well as to turn rate. And thrusters give you 25% speed when engines are disabled. So there you go. What am I doing? Okay. And for our full impulse, of course, you get that bonus. And it diverts weapon and shield power to engines. And it gives plus 10 aux power setting for 10 seconds when exiting full impulse. So this may be a engine to consider on a science build, because it does take less from your aux power when you're at full impulse, and it does give some extra aux power when you're exiting full impulse. So plus it has the extra control expertise, which, you know, Anyway, so this might be one to consider for a science character, as well as the extra control expertise you get here with the deflector array. That's quite a bit. Alright, and then we have, of course, the overcharged warp core. Put that there. Alright, and this gives you additional auxiliary power, bonus increases at low aux power. Plus it gives you a +5 maximum aux power, meaning you can go to 130. It gives you extra slipstream speed and doubles your slipstream turn rate, as well as gives a reduced cooldown on transwarp. Slipstream drive recharges 100% faster, so it halves your slipstream drive recharge, and adds 7.5% of your shield power to your auxiliary power as bonus power. Alright, it also gives you a battery capacitor, which is an auxiliary power buff. It gives you repairs auxiliary disabled aux systems and gives you +15 aux power setting for 10 seconds. Aux power is always good for a science build. So if you are a heavy science build, this may be something to consider if you need a bit of extra aux power. But I will be honest, I don't see it beating out the Temporal Initiative, Temporal Defense Initiative set. Alright, and our shield here, Synergistic Resilient Shield Array. And this has, again, a bit of control expertise, not usual to see on a shield, as well as drain expertise, again, not usual to see on a shield. And then we have, because it's a resilient shield, it has 5% absorption and 5% bleed through, my favorite personally. Also, it has its unique ability. It reduces phaser damage to shields by 20% twice. And that's an odd thing to see. I believe that might be a typo, because I believe it should also say Polaron damage. Okay, but when using debuffing bridge officer abilities, it gives you +4% shield resistance for 15 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times for a total of 20% shield resistance. Alright, and before we forget, let's take a look at the Singularity Core. As always, it is very similar. It has a maximum warp factor of 15. Of course, that's modified by your sector space speed skill. It gives a scaling auxiliary power based on your singularity charge level. Again, just like the warp core, gives 60% slipstream speed, as well as 100% slipstream turn rate, and 50% reduced cooldown on transwarp, and your slipstream drive recharges 100% faster. It also gives you improved singularity overcharge, and in this case, when singularity overcharge is active, you gain 20% crit severity, as well as the singularity battery capacitor, which gives an auxiliary power buff and gives up to 30 auxiliary power based on your singularity level, as well as repairs auxiliary systems. Alright, there we go. Moving right along, let's check out these set bonuses. And we have, for our set bonuses, the 2-piece set bonus is Task Force Maneuverability. To team and self, and this stacks with your teammates, plus 10% flight turn rate, plus 10% flight speed. So that can stack up to the number of teammates you have, usually 5. If you have 5 teammates and all of them have 2-piece set, then you're looking at a plus 50 of both flight turn rate and flight speed. Alright, the 3-piece bonus, Task Force Precision. Again, this affects the entire team and stacks with your teammates. And that gives plus 10% kinetic damage and plus 10 accuracy rating. So again, this can stack up to however many teammates you have, usually 5, for a 50% and 50 accuracy, 50% kinetic damage and 50 accuracy rating. 4-piece set bonus, Task Force Resilience, and again this is a passive. To team and self, stacks with teammates. You get plus 10 starship control expertise, plus 10 starship drain expertise, plus 5% maximum hull capacity, plus 5% maximum shield capacity. And of course this can stack with the number of teammates, usually 5, so 50, 50, and 25. Alright, moving right along. Now we have our weapon set. Now this has, of course, you have your console, which is the Ordnance Accelerator. This reduces the shared mine recharge time and gives plus 25% mine recharge speed, plus 20% projectile weapon damage, plus 20% phaser directed energy weapon damage, and plus 20% polaron directed energy weapon damage. So if you're looking at doing mines, then this is actually a pretty good console to have. Alright, moving right along, we have our, of course, we have the 2 different energy types, polaron being the primary flavor, phaser being the one added at tier 6, and we have turret, and we have omnidirectional. They all will be the same. I'll go and pick one of these. It does not matter which one you pick, any one of them will work to completing the 3-piece set. Now we have, of course, the weapon flavor damage, whichever one you've chosen. Gives a 2.5% chance that engines will go offline to foes within 2 kilometers of the target for 4 seconds. That is the unique ability there. Alright, and minus 10 all damage resistance rating for 5 seconds as well when shooting foes that are slower than you. That is an interesting caveat, but definitely something to consider. Alright, and then we have, you have a choice between mines and torpedo for the kinetic or for the kinetic damage here. We have the inhibiting chronoton rapid mine launcher, and this gives us 4 level 60 inhibiting chronoton quick arming mines in a wide pattern. Explosions significantly reduce flight speed of your foe and turn rate for 10 seconds per mine. Okay, the chase range is 3.5 kilometers. This can be doubled by the trait Hot Pursuit to 7 kilometers, and they give a 2% crit chance because of the crit H mod on the weapons. It has a 20-second recharge. Okay, and we have, of course, our torpedo, which gives the same special ability, significantly reduces flight speed and turn rate for 10 seconds. This one has a critical damage and a critical chance mod, so you get 20% crit severity and 2% critical chance on this weapon. Either one of these, mines or torpedo, will complete your set, as will either of the turrets or either of the omnidirectional beams will complete the set. So there you go, and let's take a look at the set bonuses. Alright, so we have for our 2-piece set bonus, Task Force Tunings, and that gives you plus 10% Chronoton weapon damage, plus 10% Polaron energy weapon damage, plus 10% phaser energy weapon damage, and plus 10% flight turn rate. And this is applied only to you, and these are passives. Our 3-piece set bonus, which is a activatable ability called Deep Space Mine, that is M-I-N-E, mine, targets your enemies, has a 10-kilometer range, and a 2-minute recharge. What it does is upgrade your next attack with an advanced Gamma Chronoton weapon. Within 30 seconds, spawns a field of 9 mines that last for 90 seconds. Chase range 3.5 kilometers, that of course will be doubled by the trait Hot Pursuit to 7 kilometers. Mines respawn 5 seconds after detonation. Mines deal X kinetic damage with 20% shield penetration, and explosions significantly reduce flight speed and turn rate for 14 seconds. So the key thing here is that they recharge. First of all, you get more mines, they last for longer, for 90 seconds, and they recharge after 5 seconds, or respawn 5 seconds after detonation. So there you go. It's a play on the self-replicating mines that guarded the wormhole that ROM came up with. So anyway, that is the Gamma reputation. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about this. I hope you learned something. And this is Teacher Kirby. I will see you next time.